I had the thought pop in my head, and I'm like, I'm not going to write no mafia book. But so then I answered my question, who would know where the bodies were buried? And my brain answered the word, well, the body man. Well, then my thought process went to a news story I had heard sometime before that, which was President Obama had a guy, real guy named Reggie Love. I know some Secret Service agents now over the course of my contacts that knew Reggie or know Reggie. And
Yes.
Reggie was referred to in the media by the body man. And I'm like, well, that would be a boring book, though, because yeah, Reggie probably knows some of Obama's secrets and buys the smokes for him and handles his money, but how glamorous of a job that is. So then I said, well, what? How about if there was a role in the White House that was called the body man informally? But what if that person's job? What if they came from the Secret Service, and what if their job was not to protect the president, like every other Secret Service agent, but what if their job was to protect the office of the presidency? That office always remains. It's the occupant that changes. And
Yeah.
so I just thought I had 3 hours or 2.5 hours to think through. And then I came up with the concept of what if the president does something he or she shouldn't do? Well, the body
Right.
man's job is to cover it up. Or, which factors into some of these later books too, is the second one's done. I'm editing it, but it's been done for a while. Third book I've already started a little bit. What if this person had the authority to prevent the president from doing something? That opens up a whole new can of worms because you have someone within the White House that has authority over the president in some regards.
Yeah.
That drives some of the other narratives because there's people in Washington that like power and they don't like an unelected person with
Yeah.
seemingly unlimited power. So in the second and third book, that really hits the fan.
Yeah, no, I was actually reading the bio, everything about it. It sounds pretty interesting. I'm actually interested in buying the book myself. I think it was newly edited recently, you had mentioned, right?
So the publisher, yeah, the publisher and I parted ways after the first book. He rejected the breach of trust, which blew my mind because I had some
Wow.
very successful authors and authors I trusted read it, and they're like, "This is better than the Body Man," and he rejected it, wanted me to rewrite it. And with a small publisher, for the limited amount of money you're going to make and the amount of time you put into writing a book, I'm like, "There's no way I'm rewriting." And I basically, it was very direct. I said, "I'm not rewriting a book for you. Sorry, no way, not going to happen. Let me out of the contract." And he did. He let me out. I give him credit for that. But he kept the rights for the Body Man. But then within a year, he went out of business. So I got the Body Man rights back. So, and that happened I knew it was going to happen, but 6 months ago, but it dragged on for a long time. So I didn't know when it would officially be done. So it happened around the 1st of January, and I had already had my file ready and everything. So then I switched modes of, okay, let's put it out under my brand because I've started my own publishing imprint, which is just really a legal entity. And I'm kind of doing what the small micro publishers do. I push everything through Amazon. I also have some other avenues as well, but I've just created all those pieces so that I can publish my own books and not give away 85% of my profit to a publisher, basically.
Right.
Now I have to incur costs. So instead of the publisher doing a cover and having an editor and all the marketing stuff, I have to pay off for all that. But it's cheaper and I'll make more money doing it myself, honestly, than going through at least through a small publisher. So I had the rights back and I said, well, I get to put it out. The cover did not come with me. So I got the book copyright back and all my words, but not the cover. So I hired a guy, I've gotten a lot of contact the last few years. So I was able to get a great guy who redid the cover for me. I told him what I wanted. He's actually done 2 covers in the last week for some other friends of mine that are writers, and he's just a fabulous guy. Hired a professional editor, did all that stuff, and just was able to put the book out and shrunk it down a little bit. So the original version was pretty big. It was like 470 pages, and mine's like 403. Some of that's typecast stuff. It's not that much, but I knocked it down by about 10,000 words because as I've gotten writing more and experience from when I originally had written it, 6 years ago, I like smaller books. I love Clancy. Clancy was, he gave you a monster of a book, a huge book.
Yeah. Oh
For
yeah.
me personally now, and for what I read typically is, I want something in the 350 to 400 range. So
I
that's
hear
kind of
you.
what I decided to do with mine as well. So it's exciting. It's neat to have it back, neat to have it under my control. So and then you can kind of do what you want with it. But I bring in professionals, so I don't want it to come across of, I can put anything out. I mean, I can put anything out I want, but I still view it as whatever I put out represents me as the author and artist,
Yeah.
So it's got to be high quality. And so I hire people to do the cover, hire people to do the editing so that those pieces are done by professionals, not by me, who is not a professional when it comes to graphic design or editorial or anything.
I hear you. I use Canva for that. Canva.com.
Canva's great. Yeah, I have I have the Canva Pro, whatever. It's like $20 a month, and I do all my multimedia stuff through it. I do stuff for my for the book imprint. And I did hire out to have like professional logos and stuff done. So,
Yeah.
but that kind of stuff, my book logo is not going to change. The name Bruno Media Publishing is my publishing imprint. I'm not going to change that name. So that logo, unless I want to freshen it up in a few years, it was worth paying someone to give me a professional logo, and it looked like a professional did it. So, and that's the thing with like covers. For anyone listening, you can most certainly, not knocking creating your own cover in any way, shape, or form, but you got to keep in mind that covers do sell books more so
Yeah.
than what's inside the cover, because people are going to see that cover and they're going to be like, "Oh, I love it. I want to see what's inside," and then hopefully what you have inside is going to entice them even better. But a poor cover will turn people off immediately.
Yeah.
So to pay for something, if you got to pay for something, I'd almost say pay for a professional cover and then handle an editing if you can't afford the editing, which is more expensive than the cover. You
Yeah.
know, there's plenty of editing softwares out there that you can buy that's significantly cheaper than paying someone else.
Yeah. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah,
But
Grammarly works good. I use Pro Writing Aid actually. I found Pro Writing Aid a little better than Grammarly and cheaper actually. So
same here. I use Pro Writing Aid myself as well.
yeah.
It does come in handy. I trust me. I like that one better than Grammarly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's
But I
not to say.
still do then hire I did do then give it to a professional editor. And I found someone that's reasonable with the price and I like the quality, but I just don't trust my own eye when it comes to that. I hate to say it, but I'll read the same sentence and I've got the spelled TEH. How cuz and I think I've done it so much my software goes, "Oh, dummy wants it TEH." So it doesn't even tell me anymore.
I
So
hear you.
so I need someone to be like, "Do you know how to spell the?" I'm like, "No, I clearly don't."
It happens to me as well. I hear you. Well, I'll go ahead and ask you this one last thing, and then I'll let
Sure.
you know what I'm planning to do as an author.
Yeah, I'd love to
But
know.
so this other book you had written, I think it's already out or it should be coming out. I correct me if I'm wrong. Ransom Daughter,
Yes.
and I actually read an advertisement. I think you had said something about it being similar to the movie Taken.
Yes. So
Yeah,
a girl is abducted. Her father is very wealthy. He can afford to pay the ransom. They offer to give her back for a very large amount of money. But even though he can afford to pay it, he has a lot of doubt that they're actually going to get, especially how they tell him they took her, gives him a lot of doubt into these people. So he's fortunate enough, besides being wealthy, he knows a lot of people. Now they tell him, if you notify anyone, she's dead. We know you have government contacts. We know you know the law enforcement, but he knows someone that they don't know he knows. And he goes to secretly reaches out to this person who just happens to have guys that are willing to go into a foreign country and go get her. And that's what they do. And then they find out, you know, maybe this isn't exactly what we thought it was. So
yeah,
it was, and the reason behind it, real quick, I know we got time restraint with Zoom, but the reason behind that was I decided to start my own publishing imprint, but I did not want to put a full length novel out. So Ransom Daughter is something I had actually written after I wrote The Body Man, totally different characters.
yeah.
But it was kind of filler to do it, just to do a novella basically. And then it
Oh,
sat on my hard drive for a couple of years. So when I was parted ways with the publisher and decided to start my own imprint, I kind of started going through some of those files and going, well, any of these stand out. And Ransom Daughter just popped out and was like, print me, please create me. So I was like, okay, sure. So I spent months editing it, adding to it, changing a lot of stuff around. And then I put it out as my guinea pig to, can I actually, put something out and make it profitable? And I mean, it was profitable within like 4 to 6 weeks. So, paid for the cover, paid for the edit, paid for everything. So I was very blessed for that. So that's the other thing. I know some authors that they spend thousands of dollars to put books out, thousands, and they might even have a publisher, a small publisher, and they're required though to pay like for the editing or the cover or whatever. And it's hard to recoup that money. It's really hard to recoup that money when you're only getting a small percentage of the revenue. It's much
yeah,
easier to recoup it if you do things right, and if for if everything falls into place, if you get